This is not an ultra-wide lens. At least it doesn't feel like one, because technically, yes, it is 15mm, but on APS-C camera like my Fuji X-S20, it's about 22.5mm full frame equivalent, and somehow it feels wider than that. This is a new lens from Sigma. This is replacing their superb but slightly aged 16mm f1.4. This is 30% shorter and 50% lighter than the 16mm, and it is available for Fuji-X, which is what I'm using here, but also Sony-E and Canon RF mounts. After taking it out to Liverpool for a full day of shooting, I think this might be one of the most interesting wide-angle lenses I've used in a long time. And not because of specs, but because of how it actually behaves when you're out shooting. I went to Liverpool with a couple of friends. We all had different cameras, different lenses, but we were all trying to capture the same thing. What Liverpool actually feels like, not just landmarks, not just postcard shots, but the atmosphere, the geometry, the people, the vibe. And Liverpool ended up being the main place where I really pushed this lens, but not only. Different locations, different subjects, just trying to understand what this lens is actually good at or good for. And that's where things started to make sense, because instead of just going wide for the sake of going wide, it actually easily helped me to adapt to this specific focal length and see the world in this field of view. It's not wide enough to be specialist lens or one-trick pony. When you shoot with it, everything just kind of falls into place. You start seeing layers. You can go wide, but you can also get close to your subject. It does not create distortion often associated with the ultra-wide lenses. Here it felt natural, and I think that's the key word for this lens, and something I noticed straight away from the first photo I have taken with it. The wide aperture, shooting wide open, also gives a bit more unusual look. Shallow depth of field is something I really like with wide angle field of view, and at f1.4 you get plenty of it. The first thing that really surprised me is image quality. Honestly, I didn't expect this, even though it is Sigma. It's a small lens, and at first glance it doesn't particularly scream premium, but the files captured with it are seriously good. Edge-to-edge sharp, clean, nice contrast, but also very usable. And that's the key thing, because ultra-wide lenses often look impressive, but actually could be quite hard to use. They exaggerate everything. They can make everything look too big or too far away from you. This isn't. Composing with it is easy, and across everything I shot, it was just consistent. No weird surprises, no shots that felt unusable. It just delivers. Now, f1.4 on a wide-angle lens sounds a bit unnecessary. And I'll be honest, I didn't shoot wide open all the time. For this style of photography, f2.8, f4 works better. But wide aperture like this is great not only for subject to background separation, but also letting more light in, shooting in lower lighting conditions, and for astrophotography, for example. Having this wide aperture on a wide-angle lens this small simply gives you another creative option without the need to change lenses. Autofocus, I didn't even think about it. You just shoot, which is exactly what you want. No issues, no hunting, no missed shots, even on the FujiFilm X-S20. It just works, no surprise with Sigma. Now let's talk about video, because this lens actually makes a lot of sense here. First of all, size and weight. It's small, it's slight, and it balances really nicely on a camera like X-S20 or any Sony or Canon, usually smaller APS-C cameras, which means it's perfect for gimbal work. You don't have to fight the setup. You don't have to overcompensate for weight. Just mount it, balance it quickly, and you're ready to go. And that wider field of view enhances the sense of motion. At the same time, it's not too wide that it becomes distracting, which is very important. You don't get that jello effect in the corners with it. Also, minimal focus breathing. Important, especially if you are pulling focus or working with subject moving through their frame. It just feels stable, predictable, and easy to work with. terms of build, this is very Sigma. Solid, clean, simple. It's small, it's light, but it doesn't feel cheap. It weighs a feather light 220 grams. No switches at all, and I get why, it's a small lens, but having at least AF/MF switch or a lock on the aperture ring would make a big difference. Aperture ring is too easy to turn by accident here, a bit annoying. It's not a deal breaker, but it is still annoying. Nicely smooth focus ring and this manual aperture ring with clicks. Filter thread, small and very standard 58mm. It has also splash and dust resistant construction. Price, around £449 here in UK, or about $579 in US. And honestly, for what you get here, that's not a bad price at all, because this is not just a niche ultra-wide lens. It's actually much more versatile than it looks on paper. You can shoot landscapes, you can shoot street or travel, but you can also get really close to your subject and create something completely different. And that's what's really good about it. This lens is more usable, this 50mm is more usable than you might think. Conclusion. So is this an ultra-wide lens? Technically, yes, but in real life, it doesn't behave like one. It's easier to use in general, it's more versatile than it might seem. And most importantly, you don't have to fight with it. And that's the thing that makes it really attractive to me. Because usually with lenses like this, you often feel that they are limiting. That's not the case here, and I didn't expect that. Generally, I'm not a fan of 24mm focal length. I never find right use for it. This is different. Something that on paper looks quite specialized in real world situations is complete opposite. This turned out to be a lens I could generally use for a lot more than I thought. And honestly, that surprised me the most. And I think that's why I enjoy shooting with it so much, because I wasn't thinking about the lens, I was just shooting. And that doesn't happen very often. I really highly recommend it. All the photos and video samples you've seen in this video were shot with this lens, and they were edited, all the photos were edited in Adobe Lightroom using my own presets. Link to those in the description below. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.